What's going on, everybody? I am back to break down this 5-game MLB DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Excited to get into it, guys. Going to be giving you the top plays to get you win some money, as always. If you enjoyed this content, would be greatly appreciated if you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. And don't forget to stay tuned to the end of the video for my home run call of the day, fan favorite segment on the channel. The guy that I'm picking to go deep. Haven't hit one yet this year, but if you've been staying tuned to my content for the last few years, you know, we're usually real good for those. So looking to get our first one off the board today. And if you are going to be very serious about MLB DFS, I would highly recommend my MLB DFS premium packages. You can check that out, link below in the description. I do offer a PrizePicks MLB package and a DraftKings FanDuel MLB package. If you play all of the above, or DraftKings and PrizePicks, or FanDuel and PrizePicks, you can get the MLB combo package and you get access to both at a discount. So without further ado, let's get into it, guys. We're going to talk about pitchers first. As always, sort my sheet by K rate. It's fantasy sports. We get points for strikeouts, and then we'll switch over to hitters on the latter half of the video. And the top guy on the slate today is going to be Joan Adone, but there is a little bit of an exception here because we have a very small sample size. He only went 5 innings pitched in his one game that he threw, and we have a very small amount of sample size on his split. So I went ahead and just took him off the leaderboard. What we did see, though, was a really high strikeout rate. He went 5 1/3 innings, struck out lots of hitters, and he is very, very cheap on a site that does, on a slate that does feature the Coors Field environment that we'll talk about later on, but the best hitting environment in baseball, with the Dodgers arguably the best lineup in baseball. So it is going to be somewhat interesting. He's only 4K over here on DraftKings, the minimum for a pitcher, so it might be worth exploring a guy that possibly has a high strikeout rate. He does have to take on a New York Mets lineup today. That's a little bit less than ideal. I mean, they're a pretty tough opponent to be taken on. But like I said, he did kind of display some strikeout upside. He is very cheap, and Coors Field is on this slate. So that's about the only thing I can say as far as maybe wanting to have some interest in him there. And if you do, I really wouldn't have any issues with it. Looking at his price tag over here on FanDuel, he's priced at 7.6 though. So it's a little bit different of a ball game over here on FanDuel than it is over there on DraftKings, where he's like the minimum salary. So I think on DraftKings, he's definitely worth exploring. FanDuel, maybe even he is as well. I mean, 9 strikeouts, 2 earned runs. Against a Boston Red Sox squad last year. That wasn't an easy opponent either. I think this guy does legitimately have some high strikeout upside. So if you want to take some risks on it, I don't hate it. But there is definitely a big pricing difference. I mean, it seems a lot easier to want to take that risk over here on DraftKings than it is on FanDuel. We only get one pitcher, and he's not really priced at that much of a discount. Then again, he does have some high strikeout stuff. We do have a Coors Field slate, so I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. If I end up with him in my lineup, maybe take a risk because I want to stack up the Coors lineup. I wouldn't be surprised. I just wanted to prioritize those bats, but very small sample size. So we're going to go ahead and just take his data out of the set so we can break down kind of the guys that we do have more of a strong sample size on. That's kind of the overall breakdown when it comes to Joan Adone. Justin Verlander is the top pitcher on the slate with a 35.4% K rate overall, a 5% walk rate, 16% swinging strike rate. Really good against both sides of the plate, too. 32% K rate against righties, 38.4% K rate against lefties. Is coming off an injury, so it'll be interesting to see how long of a leash he has. But he does get a fantastic opponent looking at the LA Angels lineup up and down as far as their, strikeout rate. They've been a team I've been talking about early on in the season that does have a high strikeout rate compared to a lot of the other lineups that we've been discussing throughout the league. Guys throughout the middle of their lineup, such as a Rojas, a Brandon Marsh, a Max Stassi, a Jared Walsh, a Tyler Wade even has a pretty high strikeout rate. So I do think that it's pretty viable to be wanting to target these guys. And obviously, Justin Verlander is a very good pitcher. So it's just a matter of the leash that he's going to have. All these pitchers are limited in their pitch counts the first couple of starts, though. So he is 10-4 over here on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they do have him priced up to 9.6. So it's just a matter of if you want to pay that price tag for him when you're comparing the bats and, the opportunity cost in your lineups. But he's going to obviously be a fantastic play today. Tony Gonsolin, second on the list for strikeout rate on the slate. The problem is he is pitching in Coors Field, which is the best hitting environment in baseball. Really don't like targeting the stadium all too much when I don't have to. Going ahead and pulling up the diagram here to show you guys Coors Field. We can see right across the board. Green, 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 green for hitters. It is not a fun place to pitch in. Also, thinner air, higher elevation. The ball flies more. It's just not fun to be dealing with. The Rockies have a 5.5 implied team total. I do think that Gonsolin is a high-risk, high-reward option. Like, the strikeout rate is there, and the Colorado Rockies are really not the strongest team in the world looking at their lineup up and down as far as their K rate's concerned. There are quite a bit of strikeouts to be had throughout the entire lineup. Chris Bryant, 24% K rate. Rogers, 21, 22 for Crone. McMahon with a 26% K rate. Joe, Connor, Joe, and Grichuk, all 20+% K rate through the heart of this order down to Grichuk. So, you know, maybe take some risks on him in tournaments, but I'd be lying to you if I said I feel real good about it. It's in Coors Field. It's the best hitting environment in baseball. It's 13-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to right center with 71 degrees, which isn't exactly the warmest temperatures in the world, but when you're looking at some of the other places on the East Coast that are playing in 50-degree weather, that's a big difference. So for me, it's going to be a little bit difficult to really want to promote Gonsolin other than just saying he does have some strikeout upside. Specifically against righties, he does feature a 27.8% K rate when you're looking at the lineup up and down for the Colorado Rockies. As far as the amount of righties they're rolling out, they do have a pretty right-handed heavy lineup. There is only 1-2 lefties in the lineup. So I guess there's your argument to be made for him, but it is a little bit dicey. Joe Musgrove taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks, going to be a fantastic spot for him with the 25.4% K rate overall. Good swinging strike rate stuff. Doesn't really walk anyone. 27.1% K rate to righties and a 23.8% K rate to lefties. He does have a little bit of a splits issue. Definitely does struggle a little bit more so against those left-handed hitters than he does the right-handed hitters, I will say. Looking at the Diamondbacks lineup up and down, they do feature quite a few lefties in there. So that's the one scary part that I would say when it comes to Mr. Musgrove. But it's not like the Arizona Diamondbacks have exactly the most elite lineup. We're not really all too worried about them. It's really just the splits issue that I would say. There is a little bit of a dip down to these left-handed hitters in his K rate. He still is going to be a decent play tonight, though, I will say. If you want to go there, obviously no issues with it. And we're going to have to make some sort of a sacrifice at the pitching position if we want to get up to the top bats. Maybe going down to a Musgrove instead of a Verlander is enough salary to get you to who you want to. It's only a $400 difference on FanDuel, though, and it's only a $200 difference on DraftKings. So I don't really think it's that much of a difference. And I will say Justin Verlander definitely gets the better of the matchup when it comes to his upside and the K rate that the other team is supplying him. So just worth noting. Syndergaard is a guy we haven't seen in quite some time. He's going to be exciting to see out there on the hill once again. He has a 27.7% K rate against righties since 2019, 20.7% K rate to lefties. Once again, a guy that does kind of struggle a little bit more so against lefties. Only a 4.25 implied team total for the Houston Astros. Only a 4.25 implied team total for the LA Angels. Vegas expecting this to be a pitcher's duel. And he's certainly interesting. It's just a matter of the pitching leash that he's going to get. I don't think we've gotten any reports on that. If we do throughout the day, I will go ahead and let you guys know. He pitched 5 innings in an exhibition game against the Dodgers on Sunday, though. So over 8.2 spring innings, he had a 1.04 ERA, 11-2 K per walk rate. And I don't know, man. He does look really, really good from a first look aspect. Obviously, those spring training numbers look phenomenal. He was always a good pitcher in the past. The problem is really the matchup, though. I mean, the Houston Astros just really don't strike out. They're one of the most pesky lineups up and down the heart of the order. I really don't like targeting the Houston Astros. I just don't think they provide you with enough upside when you're targeting their pitchers. The only people that strike out in the lineup are Martin Maldonado and Chas McCormick in the 8 and 9 spot. They do strike out a lot with a 30+% K rate for both of these guys, but the rest of the lineup is just really, really good. So I think Syndergaard's a really good option. I think that Verlander is definitely the superior option when you factor in the matchups. But if you want to go him, I just don't like targeting the Astros personally. Chris Bassett taking on the Washington Nationals, a guy that you could probably go to with a 25.2% K rate to lefties, a 21.9% K rate to righties. Does have some pretty decent K stuff. He's taking on a Washington squad that's just, quite frankly, not that great of a lineup up and down. They have a really strong heart of the order in Juan Soto, Nelson Cruz, and Josh Bell. But then after that, they just don't really scare me all too much. So if you want to go to Chris Bassett, he might be the answer to finally get some salary relief for those other bats that we talked about. And a decent pitcher on the bump, I think he could be that answer. Looking at the lineup up and down, there are some decent K rates. They're not exactly the most threatening opponent. He does come in as a 150 favorite, so he can get you that win that you need in your tournament lineup. So I think he could possibly be the guy that you're looking for as a cheaper option on the slate tonight. And then the other guy that you have to talk about is Kyle Wright taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Herman Marquez against the LA Dodgers is just going to be a no for me. I mean, he's the best pitcher, arguably, on the Colorado Rockies. He's not a bad pitcher at all. I would say he's definitely the best pitcher on the Rockies now that they got rid of John Gray, but I don't really want to take on the LA Dodgers with a 6.5 implied team total in Coors Field with a lineup of Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Trey Turner, Max Muncy, Justin Turner, Will Smith, Cody Bellinger. Whew, that lineup's nasty, man. I don't know how they did it, but they got a nice squad going over there in LA. But yeah, Kyle Wright really doesn't have the highest strikeout rate. He really gives up a lot of hard contact. He's really ugly across the board, to be honest with you. And targeting him in tournament looks a little bit scary to me too. And Zach Davies is a definite no for me. He just doesn't strike anyone out. So I think we kind of established where we're looking to on pitching. We like Verlander, we like Gonsolin, kind of, I guess, with a high strike rate against the Colorado Rockies squad, but he's in Coors Field, and like, no thank you. Musgrove, Syndergaard, Bassett, really the guys you're looking to, and they can take some shots on a Kyle Wright. I mean, Vegas is telling us that they do like Kyle Wright to somewhat limit the Reds with a 4.41 implied team total, but looking at his underlying numbers on the spreadsheet, you can see on my analytics, I really don't like him all too much. So that's it for pitching. Head on over to bats. As always, I like to go ahead and sort my sheet by Sierra, skill, and our active ERA. It's a good way of determining how good a pitcher's been so far the last couple of years and how good he's expected to be in the future. And the worst on the slate is Kyle Wright. We just talked about him. His underlying numbers do not look good. He gave up a lot of walks, a lot of hard contact, a 407 slugging to righties, and a 573 slugging to lefties. So really, really does struggle against those left-handed hitters. Against righties, he's at least keeping the ball on the ground, but he's still giving up a lot of walks, a lot of hard contact. So I do think the Reds could be interesting in Atlanta. Not the best hitting environment in the world, but definitely not the worst. Looking at the Atlanta Braves ballpark in Truist Park. Does play a little bit more friendly to right-handed batters, I would say, for the most part, for sure, even though the home runs don't exactly treat you too friendly out there to left field across the board. But overall, it's pretty hitter neutral. And the fact of the matter is, obviously, we just talked about it. Looking at Kyle Wright's numbers, they just have been really bad, and they have been really bad to lefties. So that short right field porch isn't going to hurt our feelings on the right field effect. And I don't mind going to some lefties in the Cincinnati Reds lineup. So a Tyler Naquin, a Joey Votto, a Mike Moustakas, a Jake Fraley, all going to be decent options. And then rounding out your stacks with Tommy Pham, Jonathan India, Tyler Stevenson, Nick Senzel, Kyle Farmer, up and down the lineup, obviously. I do prefer the lefties, and so Naquin and Votto would be my favorite bats. Mike Moustakas, maybe he gets bumped up in the lineup a little bit with the matchup, and they look into the splits. That's kind of where I'll be looking to on the Reds tonight. Zach Davies taking on the San Diego Padres. He gives up a 451 slugging to righties, a 414 slugging to lefties. Actually, he's a little bit better against lefties, but again, a guy that across the board really isn't all that great, and he's a lot worse in the fly ball, ground ball categories against lefties. So for me, I'm looking to really target him with both sides of the plate. San Diego really hasn't had a big offensive game yet, and I think this might be the game they're finally able to break out against this Arizona Diamondbacks pitching staff, the bullpen. I don't think they have a good bullpen this year. They've been struggling to kind of have a bullpen for a while. Obviously, we're still collecting that bullpen data throughout the year as this year continues on. But I think this could be an explosion spot for the San Diego Padres. In Arizona, they get a nice ballpark upgrade in comparison to their home park in San Diego. Looking at Arizona, you can see Chase Field is a pretty great hitting environment. Specifically, the right field line I do like targeting with those left-handed pull hitters. So going ahead and targeting some Trent Grisham, some Jake Cronenworth, some Eric Hosmer, some CJ Abrams, but I'm not scared to go to the righties either, obviously. Like I said, Davies bad against both sides, so rounding it out with those elite hitters in Machado. Luke Voigt has a bunch of power, Will Myers, and Austin Nola. This lineup's really good up and down, so I do think they're definitely a decent stack today. Vladimir Gutierrez taking on the Atlanta Braves. He was really good and really bad last year. He kind of went up and down, but you can see his underlying numbers aren't the most impressive. With the 427 slugging to righties, he is a lot better against righties than lefties right off the bat. Once again, a guy that does struggle more so against lefties with the 514 slugging, giving up hard contact, ground ball, fly ball stuff is not good against those lefties, so I like targeting the lefties for sure. I like targeting the overall lineup. They do have a 5.59 implied run total. Eddie Rosario, Matt Olson to lead things off, Austin Riley, Ozzie Albies, Adam Duvall, Travis d'Arnaud, Alex Dickerson, Dansby Swanson, Heredia. Similar to the Padres I just talked about, like I'm comfortable playing these guys 1 through 9. They have that deep of a lineup. Some lineups you look at, and like after the 7th spot, you're like, we don't really want to play that guy. But I mean, Alex Dickerson, Dansby Swanson, and Heredia are all pretty decent hitters on the Atlanta Braves. So I have no issues going 1 through 9. We like targeting those lefties, so Matt Olson is definitely going to stand out as a fantastic play with that power stroke that he has. So no issues you going there. Tony Gonsolin against those Colorado Rockies. We just talked about at Coors Field. The Rockies do have a pretty high implied team total. He does do a great job of limiting the slugging to both sides, does Gonsolin, though, so it's a little bit tough to really want to target him too much. And then you look at the Rockies lineup, it's just not that good. Honestly, the Rockies they're probably going to get a lot of ownership because they're in Coors Field, and that's the kind of situation where I feel comfortable fading them if a guy doesn't get enough the most slugging. We know the Dodgers have a really good bullpen as well. So just an ownership play, like they're going to be good plays. They do have a 5.5 implied team total with the best hitting weather out there in Colorado, a lot better than the East Coast, obviously, some of these other games we're talking about. But if they're going to have a lot of ownership, maybe just fading them and playing the Dodgers instead is a good idea for me. Or maybe fading both teams is always a viable option in Coors Field. It's a little bit scary for me with the Dodgers in Coors Field with how good they've assembled this team to be, but obviously they're going to have a ton of ownership. So Going to the Rockies, if I had to pick against Gonsolin, once again, breaking down his numbers, he does definitely give up a lot more fly ball, hard contact stuff just fly balls in general to the left-handed hitters. So I kind of would want to target the lefties, but Charlie Blackmon, Brendan Rodgers is from the right-hand side. I mean, Ryan McMahon and Charlie Blackmon would be my two favorite. Then you're just looking to target the most talented hitters, I would say. I mean, Chris Bryant, Brendan Rodgers, McMahon, Randall Grichuk are kind of the guys you're looking to. When it comes to kind of a split neutral guy, yeah, you just want to target the best hitters with the most power, obviously. And those are kind of the guys you'd be looking to. Chris Bassett taking on Washington, very clear splits. He's a lot worse against lefties than he is righties. Righties, he's pretty dominant. Lefties, he does give up some hard contact, so it's pretty simple. If you're targeting the Nationals, you're looking to load up on the lefty power. Keibert Ruiz, Josh Bell, Juan Soto, obviously the top bat there. The righties I'm not all too interested in. And then Syndergaard, same thing, struggles more so against lefties. Marquez, same thing, struggles more so against lefties. Musgrove, same thing, struggles more so against lefties. So the Diamondbacks lefties, the Dodgers lefties, and the Houston Astros lefties, all in much better spots than those right-handed slits. So, I mean, that's pretty simple to break down. You know, Brantley, Alvarez, Kyle Tucker, lefties for the Stros. On the Diamondbacks, you're looking at Varsho, Ketel Marte, David Peralta, Pavin Smith, Seth Beer. They actually do have a pretty left-handed heavy lineup, so maybe stacking them up in tournaments against a highly owned Musgrove, not a bad idea. And then against Chris Bassett, we just kind of already talked about that. Who else did we miss there? Oh, the Dodgers, obviously, the lefties. I mean, if they're able to get Marquez out of the game early, they're going to have a lot of opportunity as is. But definitely do lean towards liking the lefties a little bit more. So Freddie, Muncy, Bellinger, Gavin Lux. But they're just all in a fantastic spot. Obviously, the Dodgers are in a great spot going in the Coors Field. They're going to be highly owned, and they should be. Just comes down to game theory. Maybe fade them. Hope they don't have the biggest game. Hope they don't hit any home runs. They just have a decent game. They score 6 runs with a few singles and doubles. But that is definitely a scary fade. So that is all for me as far as a breakdown, guys. Before I let you guys go, of course, I got to give you my home run call of the day. A little bit of a rule, though. I'm not allowed to take a bat in Coors Field. So no home run calls in Coors Field. It's just a little bit too easy to do. I mean, if I had to pick a home run call today and I could pick anyone, probably would be Coors Field. But we just stick away from that because it's kind of the more obvious spot. I'm going to give you guys, another play. So that's just a little bit of a rule if you're new to the channel. But if you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. And without further ado, home run call of the day. Let's get into it. And my home run call of the day today is going to be Matt Olson taking on Vladimir Gutierrez tonight. I had mentioned his hard contact issues and split issues against left-handed hitters. Not good across the board. Only strikes them out at a 13.7% clip. Gives up a .514 slugging with a 35.4% hard contact rate. And then when you're looking at the ground ball, fly ball stuff, lots of fly balls with a 44.9% fly ball rate. Not going to fare well against a power hitter like a Matt Olson. And then breaking down his repertoire is really reliant on the fastball curveball combination and will mix in the changeup. Lastly, against those left-handed hitters, and Olson crushes all these pitches. Against the fastball, you're looking at about a 93-mile-an-hour fastball on average from Gutierrez, and Matt Olson features a 333 ISO with a 458 WOBA. Curveball, Olson crushes as well with a 205 ISO and a 365 WOBA off right-handed pitchers. And lastly, the changeup, he will break out against those lefties. Olson, not an issue either with a 330 WOBA, 179 ISO. Little bit of a drop-off there, but that's his least utilized pitch. Not worried about it. I think Olson could jump on the curveball, fastball, take him deep tonight. Get him in your lineups because he is my home run call of the day. So there we go, guys. Matt Olson, I think he gets his first Braves home run. I believe he hasn't hit a home run yet with the Braves tonight against Vladimir Gutierrez. Get him in your lineups, and that is all from me in this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the content. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. Check out the premium content packages, patreon.com/KJK_DFS. You can get access to all of my core plays, top stacks, my cheat sheet, my daily StatCast data, MLB data sheet, all of that fun stuff, team meeting data, bullpen data. Wishing you guys all the best of luck on your entries tonight, and we will see you in the next one.